Hi everyone. So today we have Twinkle Jain with us. She is a chartered accountant and a content creator past 2 years. We are so glad to have you here. You're most welcome to our platform.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So Twinkle, I would like to know in the beginning the journey of this content creation. How has it been for you? And what made you start something like this in a very niche space? Like usually chartered accountants are more into documentation, paperwork and taxes and all of that. So how come content creation came to your mind?
So, though I'm a chartered accountant, but I've always had this knack for attention. Like I've always like people are camera conscious. For me, it's otherwise. I like to be in front of camera. I've always wanted to, like even with school dances, I made sure that I'm in the center and in the front row. So that way I was very attention. I wanted the attention overall. So therefore I think I had this knack for being on camera and getting the attention. And therefore, though I was a CA, and after lockdown what I saw was that people actually had the knack of learning finance, and
Right.
which was very new, because initially there were only YouTube videos and everything, but then after lockdown I saw that people were actually acceptable to this kind of content as well. So
Correct.
therefore I thought, why not marry my CA knowledge with my love for camera and just start educating people. And to be honest, this was one of the reasons, but then on the other hand, I had a lot of friends who used to ask me doubts on a very daily basis on how to file our taxes, or how can I
Okay.
save tax, or how do I save money. And I saw a lot of friends of mine making blunders, like having a lot of loans on just a 50,000 salary.
Oh.
So I was like, how are you managing your personal expenses? Like, how are you doing? And they were living in different. So there were a lot of blunders that I saw with my friends. So I thought, let's fix this problem on a massive level,
Yeah.
and not just one on one. So I thought content is the best thing to do right now for this, and therefore I started creating content, and touch wood, it worked out.
That's great. So, glad to know your start in the beginning. I mean, it is definitely something which all of us would want to learn. So, even I'm a chartered accountant, but I see that a lot of people don't have basic knowledge of their own expenses and managing stuff, and they are starting up with something or the other. And nowadays, hustlers, the new generation, they have so much to do, but they don't know how to manage their expenses, and hence they make blunders, right? So it's really interesting to know about this space, but also there's a lot of backstory behind becoming an influencer, a lot of content creation, being on camera, how to deal with things. So what are few struggles that you faced as a woman? How did you convince your family that you want to start something like this, you want to be on camera, be public? How did you take care of all of those things?
Content creator, one struggle that I actually faced was no one was very supportive about my career, the trajectory that I was going towards, because my father was like, you're a CA, why are you making videos? How will you like just get into a practice or do a job?
Yeah.
Like it's not. And he didn't even say videos, he was like judging me and telling me, "Ki, stop making TikToks, what are you doing,
God.
locking yourself in the room making TikToks." I'm not saying that TikTok is bad, but then he came with a judgmental tone, and therefore for the starting 5-6 months there was no support from my family and just mockery, and not just my father but everyone else. But when they saw that my relatives or the people that they knew came up to them recognizing my work and appreciating my work, that is when they realized, oh, it's not actually mock-worthy, and she's making a difference. So that was one thing. But as a woman, I feel there were a lot of like small things that happen. For example, I'm always told ki being a woman, why do you have to like work? Just go and get married to a rich guy. You don't even have to work.
Yeah.
But why you like spending so many hours in working? Why do you have to? There's no point of you earning. We are providing for you. We are don't, and then there's more like, don't shift to another city for networking, stay in this city only because we have to like get you married and everything. And then small things which affect me, but then just keep your head high and keep working towards your
Yeah.
goal, and that's what is going to make a difference.
I think that's a very, very usual thing in the Indian families, especially because they tend to feel that any work which a female is doing is not worth it only.
Correct.
They don't value it at all.
They consider it as a hobby and not
Yeah.
a passion.
Not a passion, not even professional for that
correct.
matter. Like no matter you have such an amazing degree, but still they would feel that okay, whatever she is doing is just a sideline thing. It cannot be the main thing in the family, which is really sad to say. But yeah, I think we girls are making some difference and changing lives of a lot of people together.
Also, I remember one of my friend was actually asked, after she got engaged, she was asked to leave her job because, and she's a CA, she worked for 5 years, she became a CA, she then went on to work with a chartered accountant, she's educated enough, and then after getting engaged she was asked to leave her job. Why? Because घर पे काम कौन करेगा, बच्चे कौन संभालेगा, and she actually left her job.
So I recently read a statistic that when China started developing, 94% of their women from the labor workforce, from in the entire women, 94% of them were actually contributing to the labor workforce. And with contrast to that, in India there was just 6% women even today who are actually contributing to the labor workforce. So just imagine how behind we are in this particular thing and how much we need to do more. And this is amongst those 100% of women who are actually literate, who are educated. I'm not talking about the rest of them, but even the educated ones, they either take care of the families or the babies, or do these kitty parties and all of those stuff, but they actually don't contribute to the labor workforce because the families say ki you don't need to do it, we are there for you. Male members are the dominant ones in India, so that's I think a bigger problem, which is changing of course, but still we are long way to go. What is that one advice that you would give to your fellow female entrepreneurs or the upcoming entrepreneurs who really would want to do something, but because of these few obstacles, they're not able to do it? So what would you suggest?
I feel if we are passionate about something, then we should definitely go for it without thinking about what others will say or how the people around us are going to say, and just work towards what you're passionate about and behind that purpose, and I think you're good to go. Don't let yourself down by someone else because maybe they have a certain mentality which does not match yours. That does not mean you have to fit into their thoughts. So I think that way, just keep your head high and work towards your purpose, and nothing can stop you.
So like you said, your dad or probably your family was not very supportive. How did you dealt with them? Like how did you convince them that I want to do it no matter what? Was it like that, a rebellious thing, or is it ki I'll show my work and they'll understand eventually? How was it?
I was not very rebellious, to be honest, because I know where they were coming from. They don't understand that okay, you can influence. So I was never rebellious of this because I know where they were coming from. They didn't understand what content creation is or what this space is. They just understood that someone is making videos out of hobby, and they were pretty convinced that traditional practice was the way to go only, and they were not very supportive. But then I didn't let that bother me. I didn't fight for it, but then I continued doing what I was doing, and I didn't stop. I didn't let them stop me, and I was also like, but then results came out faster, touch wood. Therefore there was no fight in my house. Otherwise, if I had continued for like a year or more and there were no results, then they would have like given me a deadline that now you have to do something for. So I think I was never rebellious about it, but my work spoke for it, and that way I was very glad. And not just this, I've been a kid who's always taken unconventional paths. Before this I was even my father was not very happy of me moving to Bombay for a job. He was like, why do you have to move to other city?
Yeah.
When Surat is the hub. So I took the step and I told him, okay, give me some time at least. I'll move, and if it does not please you, if I don't prove myself, then maybe I'll come back. But then you have to give me a chance at least. And then even in Bombay, I was doing a lot of extracurriculums apart from my job, which was not very friendly to my community. But then I went on and did it, and I'm glad that I took those steps, because I am what I am because of those
Steps.
that I took in the past. Even with being a CA, my father was not happy. He didn't like the fact that I was doing CA, because he thought everyone's doing it, why do we have to do it? So I think he was not happy with anything. So since the start, I've always, so there was always a generation gap. My family comes with 3 generations, my grandfather, my father and me. So it's not that, so we 3 of us have different thoughts. Like
Definitely.
my grandfather is not okay with some things that my father is okay with. So there was always a convincing from my end. For if I had to go to a Manali trip, I had to actually convince in school trip. I'm talking about school trip where there are like a lot of teachers and everything involved. I had to convince them a lot, because my grandfather was not of the opinion that one should go on their own. So since the start, because I'm a girl, I had to face that more.
Yeah.
Whereas my sibling, who's 5 years younger to me and is a boy, he never had to take any permission, and whatever he did was a
Heads
thumbs
up.
up. Yes, and that is the thing that I saw was a differentiating factor in a women at my house.
And what kind of problems did you face professionally being a woman? Did you any?
So professionally, I feel in content creation, I feel I've been very lucky that I didn't get as nasty comments or something. But then in personal life, I think a lot of small things happen. For example, I mentally I'm a little scared to go anywhere late at night. Subconsciously, and it's very subconscious, because I've seen cases, I've seen things happening, and therefore I've become very scared of going somewhere late at night, because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
Secondly, when I do something, there's always a judgment from society. You're a girl, you don't even have to do it, why are you doing it? Like, it's not a girl's job to earn, right?
Yeah.
It's not a girl's job to go abroad studying, like just stay here and get married when you're like 22. That is what, like, get married to a guy and you won't have to like study, you won't have
make
to work.
kids and just live your life.
And now you're 27, just, I think it's age. So these things, they bother me a lot, because I feel like I have a deadline. Like, I'm 27 now, my time is over. Like, and because this is the age after, like, I'm too old to do things, and that is because I'm a girl and I've reached a certain age. So that way, I don't think my brother would be told at the age of 30 also that you're not, you're too old to start something new. But to me, that they point out because I have a certain shelf life.
So how do you make peace with yourself?
No, it's very difficult for me actually. I actually had a very and that worked to my advantage actually, because I always thought, oh, now I'm 22, I need to clear my CA now. If I don't, they'll get me married. So now I have to. So I put in double efforts.
Yeah.
And even professionally, I think I put in double efforts for everything, because I thought, okay, if I don't get results, if I don't prove that I'm right, then
It's
my
gone.
life is over.
Yeah. It would be an end.
Correct. And that is why I had to put in double efforts for everything.
That's really interesting to know. It's never easy for all of us to, do that hard working. That path is always hard for everybody. It's just how we take it up. There are a lot of women who are very, like in the beginning itself, they are like, no yaar, घर वाले तो शादी करा देंगे. So let's just stop. Let's not try only. A lot of girls don't start because of that. They don't know whether they'll be getting married at 23 or 25 or 30 for that matter. I got married at 21. So it was a very shocking thing for me back then. But then I was very persistent that I have to do something on my own. I need to build something. And I think that dedication helped me. Similarly, in your case, you were so dedicated and always been consistent with what you were doing. And that thing कि मुझे proof करके दिखाना ही है. No matter what, I don't have any other option. Made you do what you are today, right? So that definitely helps. So what are those stereotypes probably that you would say in our society that should be broken? That can make our lives easier, or the potential women who want to really grow in their lives and make a mark for themselves. What could be those stereotypes that should not be there anymore in the society with the pace we're growing?
I think it comes with a very, so there will be stereotypes even after 10 years, I feel, how much ever you try to break them down, because everyone comes with a certain mentality.
Yeah.
I've seen something, and therefore, though I'm very rebellious about it, but then somewhere it's imbibed in me, that culture is imbibed in me. So I think even however progressive I may get, but there may be something in me which is anti-progression. Yeah. So therefore I think that is going to go, but then you still have to work towards what you think is the best for you and not listen to what others have to say for you.
Right.
Because it's your life, you have to be in it and you have to live it. So you can't blame anyone else that because of this happened. So I think it's a very personal step that one has to take. And the other thing is, I think a little discrimination have to go away. Like, if there should be no gender specific roles. Like,
true,
for a man you have to work, for a woman you have to stay at home and take care of the kids.
Yeah.
If it's out of choice, it's
fine.
It's fine. But then if it's if it's not out of choice, but it's a given that a man should not do household chores, then I think it's not okay. But when it's out of choice, so even household chores take a lot of work, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not an easy thing.
So I think if it's a choice, it's okay. But if it's not, then one should not be forced because of the societal pressure.
Very true, very true. Like you said about progression. So we see the Gen Zs nowadays. We can't relate to them honestly. They have very different mentalities and we feel what they're doing is not right in certain ways. So I think that generation gap will always be there in any generation. Like, every 5 years generation changes. So that will stay. It's just that they have to make peace with each other and understand each other. So that kind of freedom of choice, freedom of opinion should always be given to everybody. So if that small change also is something, if everybody accepts, I think that would help us all in the long way.
So I think to add to this, I think it's very ironical how when I see kids who are like 5-6 year old making videos on Instagram, I think why are they doing this? Why I myself, my whole livelihood is based on it.
Right.
But then I come from a point of view that kids should not do it because it's their
it's not good for them, probably.
Yes.
They're immature, or probably this is not the right age for
platform
them.
Yes, and it's not the right age, it's not the right platform. You have other things to do, you will get specs, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But then they think otherwise. For them, that is, so there's still a generation gap in this. And
I think that will always be there. No matter, like you said, no matter how progressive everything becomes, we will still be anti-progressive for certain things. So that would definitely be there. But that's a very good point that you mentioned, that we need to accept that we will also not be accepting everything in future. So since we're talking about women, we're talking about society, what is your take on menstruation, the taboos that still persists in India even after being so developed? So what would you say, or some incident that you would like to share which can relate to this particular topic?
So I think coming from a Jain family, we've always had this taboo about periods, that we are not allowed to speak about it very openly. Even I never had this conversation about periods from my mother. I figured it out from my friends in school so I got my period a little late.
Okay.
So all my friends were having it and then they were talking about it. So I got to know about it there and not from my mother. And when I got it, so I was like, Mummy kuch ho raha hai, and then she told, oh, you've gotten this, just wear this. And there was no conversation even after I got it.
Oh God.
So I had to figure out everything on my own. And even now I feel, though I'm like, I've had it for like 13, 14 years, I don't know a lot of things about it. I still take it for granted. And which is wrong, because being a girl you should have certain knowledge about it. And in my household we never spoke about it, and therefore there was never a mention of the word period, or we were told ki chipkali ne chhu diya isliye you can't touch things. We were not, so being from a Jain household, I'm not sure if it happens in every other household, but in my house we are not allowed to touch utensils, we are not allowed to sit on sofa, we are not allowed to touch our own clothes, like fresh clothes, and then everything that I touch is washed on my third day. And we are not allowed to do things कि रात को ज़्यादा लेट मत आओ, ये वो. So there are a lot of things that I saw, and there was no open talk about it. There was always कि तुम्हें ऐसे नहीं करना है, but क्यों नहीं करना है was not told.
Correct.
And we still follow it. I understand the reasons now, but then I don't. But then if that time it was a torture for me because I didn't know the reasons. But now that I do, okay, I follow it. But then, so that way I think we should be more open about things. And so I remember this incident when I went to school, and on Thursdays we had to wear white dress. And I got my period and I was laughing. And I had spilled all over and I had to go back home because there was no, I was not carrying anything, because there was no teaching or
nobody told you about what is
Correct.
important.
Correct. So I had to go back home, so that was very difficult. And I also, there are no, though you fly first class or you stay in a 5-star hotel, you never see a pad in a hotel bathroom.
Correct.
Like you have to always carry a pad.
Yeah.
Like if you know you're going to menstruate like in next 5 days or 6 days, then you have to carry
You
it.
need to be prepared.
Yeah, you have to carry it everywhere because you can't get it anywhere. So that way I think as a society we need to take a step ahead for this, because on a serious note, I've never felt bad about me being a girl except for the period part. Like sometimes when I get the period, I'm like, why do you have to make me a woman and not? But otherwise, I'm a woman and I embrace the fact, and I love to be that gender. But then when it comes to periods, it's so painful that I'm like, why did you have to do this?
So adding to that, I would say, like you said, that you feel empowered otherwise, but you don't like that periods part. We are always taught, like since childhood we have heard that period blood is dirty. But it is the blood which is the most nutritious blood in the body, because it is something which is bringing a new life into existence. But we fail to understand that.
Correct.
So our families, our moms, our sisters, the elderly ones have always told us कि, periods में pain होगा ही. You have to bear that pain for 3 to 4 days. You don't have an option. So we have all normalized it, but we don't understand that it is just a common problem and not a normal problem. So we should rather normalize the common part and not the uncommon part, right? So there are ways to deal with that period pain, but nobody taught us that. That is something that needs to, start having in the society. That conversation needs to start, and I think that will solve a lot of problems. So no other girl would rather say ki, I really feel empowered if I'm a woman, but I don't like the periods part, because that is the most empowering thing that we have got. in earlier days, there were logics behind everything. There were no sanitary napkins, there were no menstrual cups, tampons, and all of that. People had to deal with their period blood with like with hay, ashes, cloth, and what not. Like when I got to know about these facts, I was so
Even
shocked.
today, a lot of women in the who are underprivileged,
Yeah.
they use clothes and not the
Even
sanitary
hay and
napkins.
ashes, even today it happens.
Really?
Yeah, even today.
It's
in
even
rural
like
segment.
a little traumatic to
Yeah,
think
it
about
is.
it.
It is. But we don't speak about it, and at that time, the things were such ki you will follow a certain thing if the name of God is put in between, right? As women, we are so ingrained that we are supposed to work for the family, and the male members or the elderly women members should also not work if we are present there, and hence they would not sit, in the corner and let other work. And hence the elderly thought ki we can put the name of God in this particular thing and make them sit for 3 to 4 days or 5 days, whatever it is. And of course, the hygiene part, ki since there were no good resources, the germs, the spreading of germs and everything was a problem. And everything was physical at that time, like including cooking and everything. You have to sit on the floor and do. And of course, we are a little weak at that time, so we need to take rest and all of that. But today things have changed. But the logics remained as it is, those taboos remained as it is. People did not change the way things need to be looked upon at. So I personally feel ki since we're educated people, at least we cannot fight with the elderly ones, but at least not bring this, or just take it to the younger generation the way it was earlier, and probably teach them the right way of dealing with things, right? Of course, we all belong to families where religiously they follow a lot of things. We cannot fight with them, and we should not do that. It is something ingrained in their heads past 50, 60, and I don't know how many years. But we can of course teach the younger generation, this is the right thing, this is the right logic. Now you decide what you want to do. So this is what I personally feel should be the change that we all can bring together as women.
And that is, I think, the initiative that you've taken is very commendable, and I really respect how women are taking a step ahead towards making that change, because it's really it's need of the hour, and it needs to come from an individual level, right? And
Yeah.
you can't like expect others to do it. You have to yourself stand up to make that
Correct.
happen, and that is why I think whatever you're doing, kudos to you
Thank you so much.
and the whole team of Cambio.
So it was a really delightful session. Very interesting to know your journey, and I'm sure the viewers must love it, and they would get inspired and take their decisions, and probably what they like to do, or they should follow the dream. They would definitely take it from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much
It
for
was-
inviting me and for taking that initiative.
It's a pleasure.